All right, this is.
Bless you.
Thank you.
Who was that? All right, Village of Mariemont, regular council meeting, March the 22nd. I'll call it 6:33.
Sure, 6:31, but you can go.
Okay. On roll call, Mr. Bartlett.
Here.
Mrs. Grave. Well, no, I've got a letter from Avia. We'll get to that one second. She's not going to be here. Dr. Lewis.
Hi, you're here. Present.
Ms. Palazzolo.
Here.
Mrs. Rankin.
Here.
Mr. Stelzer.
Here.
All right, I do have a letter from Avia asking to be excused.
Has anybody ever said no?
I don't know. What happens?
Yeah,
if you say
just
no?
curious.
I mean,
Right,
try it. See what happens.
See what happens.
All right, well, I need a motion and a second to excuse her.
I so move.
Second.
All right, Mr. Bartlett.
Aye.
Dr. Lewis.
Aye.
Ms. Palazzolo.
Aye.
Ms. Rankin.
Aye.
All right, Mr. Stelzer.
Aye.
All right, she'll be excused. All right, everybody's seen the minutes. Any questions? I think Rob's got something on the minutes.
I do. Bless you. I do.
Okay.
I would like to have my sex change reversed and go back to Mrs. Rankin. Under
What paragraph would that be?
What have I been calling you?
well, we'll talk about that later.
Oh, in the minutes. Yeah, okay.
In the minutes, under communications 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, that starts with from council member Stelzer. In the last line, I'm referred to as Mr. Rankin. I mean, Mr. Rankin.
All right, well, we can make that change.
Thank you.
Might want to let your hair grow.
You might try the same.
All right, I need.
He has a lovely head of hair.
There's one other thing. At the bottom of the second page, under motion to pay the bills, that last paragraph, Mr. Bartlett went back and looked at 2020 bills, yada yada. The second to last sentence, it says we are across the board, and he would like to see more consistency. I think it's supposed to mean we are not consistent across the board, and he would like to see more consistency.
All right, any other changes?
Not for me.
All right. Motion and a second to amend. All right, I need a motion and a second to amend.
So moved.
Second.
Second.
Okay. Oh, Rob had the second. Mr. Bartlett.
Aye.
Dr. Lewis.
Aye.
Ms. Palazzolo.
Aye.
Mr. Rankin.
Aye.
Mr. Stelzer.
Aye.
All right, I need a motion and a second to accept the minutes.
So go ahead.
Need a second.
Second.
Second. Mr. Bartlett.
Aye.
Dr. Lewis.
Aye.
Ms. Palazzolo.
Aye.
Mrs. Rankin.
Aye.
Mr. Stelzer.
Aye.
I'm sorry, who was the second?
Kelly, you had the second, right?
Okay.
Rob had the first. Yeah. All right, under communications, we've got a couple of the consulting group proposals. You want to run through those, Rob?
Yep. So you all see those. Coming out of the last meeting, folks said they wanted to get some second quotes for doing the fire consulting work. So I contacted 3 different people, and 2 of them have gotten back to me. And one has a specific proposal. That's the one from McGrath that was in the council packet that you all have.
Mm-hmm.
And so if you've gone through that, if you have any questions, the cost is, I think, was it $12,800? And yeah, 18,000. I'm sorry, my bad.
18,250.
18,250, and it talks about up to 5 months. But this Dr. McGrath has said he probably could be faster than that if we needed to, but I'm not sure how fast. And then I forwarded you information about another one that was an email that's in the packet here. That group Their analysis would cost $33,000 to $36,000. So we have 3 different quotes now, from Kramer and Associates, from McGrath Consulting, and I can't find the name of the other one I did.
ESCI.
Yeah, yes.
Yeah.
ESCI.
Mm-hmm.
So, any thoughts, comments on those 3? One is local, the other 2 are outside of, you know, the one's in Illinois and the other one's, I think, in Washington or something like that. Yes.
Rob, Kramer is the one that's 33-ish.
No, Kramer is 7,400. Kramer's 7,400. McGrath is 18,250. And I didn't get an official proposal yet because from the ESCI, because again, they came in at 33 to 36. And I said, well, before you go off and create a proposal, we've got a council meeting on Monday. Let me just check and see if members would like to see that or not. If you guys have an appetite to spend that much money for the consulting work. So I guess that's the first question is, do you want me to go get a official proposal for $33,000 to $36,000 from this other company, ESCI?
I don't.
I don't feel like we need that.
No.
Okay. Yeah. And that was the low end. Yeah. Then they have the other one that's a more complex one that's even more expensive, $50,000 to $60,000. Yeah. So so it's down between 2 of them then. So we have McGrath and we have Kramer. You know, one of them's, you know, only cost and locale. You know, the one's local, this is cheaper. The one out of Illinois is more expensive. They're both, you know, I think both very good, you know, qualified people to do this kind of stuff because they both had some of their bio information. They've included that as well for you all to read.
Let me just ask this so that we kind of understand. Would it be that it's good that we've got other proposals in front of us here, but it would be my understanding, I guess, that we would wait to hear from the Tims to see what they're doing.
Tim and Terry.
I'm sorry. Yeah, I'm sorry. That we would wait to hear what they have to say, and they're probably going to write something, and we could read that and then basically make some type of a determination, you know, how to proceed from there.
Well, so whatever comes out of Tim and Terry doing their stuff, I think we ought to have an objective third party doing this regardless, right?
Well, I mean, I think in part, I mean, I'm not necessarily saying I'm opposed to it. I'm kind of just saying that I think it would sort of depend on what they say. I mean, you know, what they say.
Well, but again, I think it's also good to have an objective third party to throw out other ideas too, right? Yeah. You know, there could be other suggestions, so I wouldn't limit it to just that.
Okay.
Here's my 2 cents. So I also think it kind of makes sense to wait and see what Tim and Terry have to say, because that is information that could be incorporated if we decide to proceed with a consultant. I particularly liked one aspect of the McGrath in that they incorporated talking to our stakeholders. I don't know if that includes citizens or our fire department. Kramer's recommendation didn't specifically address that I saw. I would be interested if you could pose the question to him, Rob, if he could incorporate that aspect, and if he did, you know, would it increase the cost?
You mean you're talking about Kramer, right?
Yeah, like so. What I liked about McGrath's proposal is that they suggested incorporating, you know, the opinions of our stakeholders and digging into that component of it, the organizational behavior component of it. I thought that was a very interesting and important point. You know, since I have my MBA is partly in management, an area particularly of interest to me, but I also think it's vital in order to optimize what we are providing our residents, you know, most value with the best service. So my question is that something that Mr. Kramer can incorporate? Because he didn't specifically address that. Okay. And if he can, would it affect the cost?
Okay, I will ask the question. I know he does. I mean, the other 2 reports that he sent us sample reports, and he does meet with them and talk to all the different stakeholders. And it's not just, he meets with the people in the fire department, he meets with council members, you know, he meets with a broad spectrum of people. But I will double check on that. I will make sure that that's included.
I haven't seen a sample report. Can I see that?
Yeah, there's definitely one available for you. Yeah. I'll get it over to you tonight if need be.
Okay. Just for clarification,
I'd like to see that.
If you guys are looking for, it's on page 5 of McGrath. It's where it says stakeholders input. Just if you were looking for
Okay,
it.
because I'd like to weigh in on this conversation. We have been talking about this process of trying to study fire department options for probably 6 months now. And one of the complaints I kept hearing loud and clear was that, okay, people on council aren't qualified enough to actually evaluate the options for the fire department. And from what I've read on this gentleman's resume, he was more than qualified to be able to consult with council about the potential options that might come up regarding potential shared services on the fire. So I see no reason not to move forward with engaging this guy, because he seems to have all the qualifications that's necessary. The cost seems to be reasonable. And again, we can talk this thing and delay this thing to death, but it's time to start making some decisions. And to me, it's a reasonable decision to move ahead and engage this person.
I think, go ahead.
One other thing I want to add, I don't know if you noticed it in the email he sent to us, because Kramer did not have a specific time. So in the other email that I forwarded on to you guys, he said his analysis would require like 2 months to do his. So if he started, he could also incorporate, because we're supposed to reconnect with Tim and Terry on April 15th. So, that's less than a month from now. So he can still incorporate whatever they've come up with and include that in the analysis. Now I will check with him to say, does that impact the cost at all? To Marcy's previous question, I can say, okay, assessing this other one, does that change the cost at all? But, again, I actually, I agree with Joe. If we're going to have the number, if we're going to have Tim and Terry's proposals in, 3 weeks, a little over 3 weeks, I don't know that
we can actually have the next council meeting, which would be
Tim and Terry's.
I would think so. Well, that would
Tim's
be
right there.
Well, that's the 12th.
That's the 12th.
So ask Tim if he'd be ready.
Tim, would that be something that would be possible?
What was the question? I didn't hear you.
That we could hear from both you and Terry, from, with some kind of a report or, a recommendation by the next council meeting, which I believe is on the 12th.
I believe so. We had the initial time frame of April 15th, but I don't think it would be a problem to get it to you sooner. Not at all.
Okay.
Terry and I are supposed to meet this week and start discussing things and looking at some of the data we requested and are working on from each organization itself to compile.
Yeah. Okay. Well, that just seems to make sense.
And I would say, if we're going to start this data gathering, let's make sure we share it with this consultant right away. I mean, let's, again, I want to see all the options laid out, and I want to see the data gathered. We've been trying to do this for 6 months, and I don't know, why would we want to delay any longer? Let's just get the process rolling.
And again, you'll have a chance to incorporate whatever Tim and Terry come up with too.
I mean, we are getting it rolling. I mean, you see no reason for delay. I see on the other side, I don't see a reason for urgency. I mean, this is a very big decision that potentially we're going to be making.
But Bill, I've requested data 2 months ago that I still haven't seen in this process. So there has been delays in this process. And I don't know what the problem is, but there has been delays. And so I'm saying, I'm done. I want to see us keep moving on this process.
Yeah, I don't think this is rushing, Bill, in terms of rushing a decision. What it is getting the process finally going in earnest. So we have the police, the fire chiefs working on it. Mm-hmm. This is a really reasonable offer from a really qualified candidate to do an analysis, to fold in all of the information. Obviously, the fire chiefs are stakeholders. They would participate in the process.
Well, that's not obvious, Maggie. It's not stated in the proposal. And it is clearly stated in the McGrath proposal.
I have to agree with you. I think the McGrath proposal
is the firefighters, terrific. You would know that no one's really asked them.
Yeah, but to me, it's not a leap that we can ask, and again, if we take the vote tonight and they can't do it, then we go a different route. But I can't believe they can't incorporate, including stakeholders in their review.
Wait, Marcy, it does say that, right? You saw that. Kelly pointed out where Kramer says that. So let me.
Rob, I pointed out it was in McGrath's, not Kramer.
He pointed out McGrath.
Oh, no, it's in Kramer's. It's in Kramer's too. On page 5. Let me read. I'll just read what's in there.
You don't need to read it, Rob. Okay. You know, I have a concern because, you know, the whole thing from Kramer is written of, you know, we're going to look at this for Mariemont, you know, shared services, you know, to purchase services from Little Miami. And then he says, and by the way, we'll look at it in reverse. And I don't think the question is, you know, I think the question is how we optimize. And, you know, and I'm not saying he can't help it. I just don't like the way he framed the question.
Well, and that's actually how Bill and I gave it to him. So we put together a document that we gave to him, and we actually said there's 3 questions. You know, what if it was done out of Little Miami's fire department? What if it was done out of our department? And then Bill also added the question, what if we didn't do anything with shared services? What can we do within our own department to try and get costs lower? So those are the 3 questions we asked him to address in the proposal. And again, he's also laid out in here, he says he's going to interview all stakeholders and attend, you know, meetings of the village, meet with individual fire officers and rank and fire personnel within fire and EMS organizations. So you know, he's doing all the things that we've talked about. The thing for me, Bill, to your point about timing is, you know, if we're talking about trying to do a test, so if you get everything all sequential, you say, okay, we're going to wait for one thing and then we're going to wait for another, versus if you run them, you can still do them on the same timing and incorporate them. We're pushing off now. It's like, okay, well, if we're going to do a trial, then now it's going to be like in July or it's going to be later.
So what does that matter?
Less time to have data to say, is this trial, does it work or not?
Well, there is, but I mean, there's all summer. Again, I simply don't understand the urgency here. And additionally, we virtually at this point have no buy-in whatsoever or no correspondence with residents on this. I think, and not only that, we really don't even have a formal proposal on the table.
Well, that's because, Bill, you told them not to come tonight. Tonight was the night they were going to come, and you said, well, now based on the meeting we just had, you said, let's not have that.
No, Mike Lemon during our Wednesday meeting basically said, well, it appears that we're not ready to come because Mr. Timmers and Mr. Feitner were going to get together and go over the nuts and bolts of it. And it was my understanding that we were going to allow them to do that and see what they have to say. I just don't see what is so unreasonable about that.
Okay, Bill, at the last meeting, you mentioned that you had somebody that you wanted to propose to be our consultant on this thing. Do you have a name of somebody at this point? I mean, you're the one that delayed this from the last meeting, saying that you had these couple potential people that you wanted to throw into the mix.
No, Joe, no.
No, that was me, Joe. I asked for another estimate because in my experience, it's nice to get.
But Bill mentioned specific names of people that were potentially that could do it.
No, I didn't. I mentioned a specific name that had worked with Mr. Kramer, who was Mr. Mike Washington, who was a fireman that works here. I didn't say necessarily he would do the analysis.
Well, and I think you made the assumption too that we would wait until we heard what Terry and Tim had to say. Tim, do you have thoughts on this that you'd like to share?
I've expressed it before. I mean, it's something that's rather serious. I'm not just trying to be one-sided here. That's why Chief Timmers and myself.
Did you follow Tim?
Okay, Tim, you're gonna have to speak up a little bit.
I hear you, Tim.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, a little better.
Okay. Chief Timmers and I were going to sit down and have a discussion and weigh both these options, because the meeting last week was the first time that either one of us had actually seen something in writing of what could potentially take place or what is being proposed. You know, we had some concerns about adequate service with that original proposal of contracting fire services, and on both parts, being Little Miami and Mariemont itself, ensuring that we're able to provide proper service to both communities, all 3 communities in that case, without, you know, anyone suffering from having to call for services. So I mean, I was in the understanding that after the meeting that day, we had the opportunity to compile some additional information and then present that in a report to Mr. Bartlett and Mayor Brown, and then see where that goes from there.
And that may even, you know, is it reasonable to conclude that, I mean, there's a possibility that might take one of these scenarios off the table, like do nothing, for example. You know, and if it did, then that's less time he has to explore that. I mean, that's one less thing he has to explore, I guess is my point.
Well, that would be an option. I mean, that would be part of the
Well,
reason.
Well, I'm just saying, I know, well.
Okay. Hey, Tim, I just wanted to ask you in public, because I asked you this privately and you gave me the answer. Do you think it's reasonable to have two fully staffed fire departments a mile away from each other?
For the situation that it currently is, yes. Yes,
and why
it's not Mariemont's fault that there's a firehouse a mile down the road. Ultimately, the Mariemont Fire Department is there to provide service to the community of Mariemont. We occasionally assist adjoining agencies when we can to help them.
But I asked you the specific question for Sycamore. How far apart are your fire departments in Sycamore, where you actually work, where you also work?
4 miles.
I think they're 5 miles, as we talked. You know, so again, when you're putting down new stations, you put them 5 miles apart from each other. Does that mean that the residents of Sycamore don't have proper coverage?
I'm not saying that. The way the Sycamore operates is different than the village of Mariemont and Columbia Township and Fairfax.
Okay, so I think that the concept of doing nothing has to get a full analysis about, is that reasonable for both communities?
Yeah, and I think, again, no offense here, but I think we need to have an objective third party doing some of this analysis too. I think what Terry and Tim is going to come up with will be very important. I think it's also important that we have somebody who's outside the sphere to be able to come in, who has experience in doing some of this stuff as well. So I think they ought to look at some of the stuff, you know, Tim and Terry's proposal and provides, you know, maybe builds or suggestions on top of that as well. So yeah, and just
so then it's no problem to wait.
And my point is that we shouldn't just default to a do nothing without an adequate analysis of what that do nothing means.
Joe, no one said we were defaulting to that. I was merely suggesting if the point of the exercise is to essentially save money for the village of Mariemont, there may be other ways of doing it besides joining, you know, with Fairfax or them.
I'm all ears. Where are those options at, Bill? I've been waiting for 6 months to hear these options.
Oh, no.
Well, Tim and Mr. Timmers are exploring some of those options. And so Rob and I also suggested to Mr. Kramer that he explore those options.
And this is the first time that Tim Feitner and Terry Timmers have been asked.
That's not the case. That's not the case. They've been asked numerous times. Again, we haven't seen any proposals. And again, if the concept is we're going to do nothing, let's do the full analysis on do nothing and figure out if that's a reasonable choice.
What have I been asked for?
Tim, I asked Chief Hines directly for the analysis of how Mariemont could provide fire service to the residents of Columbia Township and Fairfax. I asked for that model. What would we need to do that? Would we need to add on to the building? Would we need to switch from a part-time model to a full-time model? You know, what would we need to do? Because that seemed to be a common comment that kept coming back. Well, why isn't Mariemont just going to provide fire service? That's fine. Let's take a look at it. Let's see what those options entail.
But the ball has been in Chief Hines' court for 2 months now. Yeah.
Well, Chief Hines has that information. If you want to provide it, just pick up the telephone and call me. I'll get it to you. I was not asked. That's just what I wanted to clarify. I want to make it out there that I am not hindering this process. Okay, I've not been involved in any of this. In my professional opinion, the cart was put way before the horse. When we sat down in this meeting, Chief Timmers and myself, and even including other members of their fire board or whoever, could have had this discussion and properly prepared or directed this thing to something that might work versus just potentially cutting service and contracting service somewhere else. There's a lot involved. There's a lot of moving parts, and it gives us the ability now, since we finally know, to forecast this and see what potential problems or what benefits this potential plan could do for all communities.
So
what I'm asking, Tim, is what would your plan do to try to increase the the overall cost between both communities of having two fully functional fire departments a mile away from each other, which is, I don't believe is a reasonable assumption for fire service.
Okay.
So how would you fix the situation?
I've expressed it a million times. First, the thing is why doesn't Columbia Township or, you know, the Little Miami Fire District look at contracting service with us? We have the equipment.
Okay, but I have asked Chief Hines for that information.
Okay, but respectfully, I can provide that to you. He should have relayed this to me, or you could have picked up a telephone and called me, but I was not aware of this. We discussed some of this in that meeting last week that, you know, we could contract services. I'm not about putting guys out of jobs, but I'm looking at it. We have everything we need. There's nothing there. But I've also expressed to the Little Miami Fire District, by looking at this and trying a potential trial, it's essentially going to begin the dismantling of the organization that the Village of Mariemont currently has. And once that starts, I have the fear that you will not get that back. You're going to have people move forward, move on, and you're going to decrease your personnel. Once that happens, even if you try that trial, I don't think you'll get those people back to continue to provide that service should you feel that's necessary. So the Little Miami Fire District, I told Mr. Kubicki and I told Mr. Lemon, it's a broken model. It's set to fail. The only other opportunity you could look into is all three communities sit down at the table with fire officials and lay out an idea or a plan looking at everything you have of how many personnel, how many pieces of apparatus, what amount of gear you'll need, apparatus replacement plans, so on and so forth. Come up with that number. And if each community agrees to that, then everybody pays equally. But right now, you're going to get your hands tied. You're going to be forced to eventually contract EMS services also, and then potentially even join that district. And if you join that district, we know that that's not going to work from 2009 when the residents voted. You're going to pay 60% of that budget for 3 communities. So there's a lot of discussion that could take place. There's the right way to do it. If everybody pays the same and everybody has the same service, to me, that's fair. It doesn't matter to me what patch is on my shirt. As long as we're providing adequate coverage and make sure the residents who we all came to do this job for are safe, I'll discuss it all day long. But essentially with what's proposed right now, you're essentially eliminating one fire company out of that area. And your next closest is 2.5 miles away in Anderson Township. And they're busy too.
All right, can I make this recommendation? I will hold off on making a recommendation that we hire Kramer at this point. If we can have a representative of council and a representative of the Little Miami Fire Board at this meeting with you and Chief Timmers.
Sure.
Okay. I'm okay with tabling this for a couple weeks.
Joe, to be honest with you, I actually think that was part of the plan that you know, both Mike Lemon and Dave Kubicki were going to come into council and make a presentation.
No. I'm talking about this upcoming meeting that Chief Feitner and Chief Timmers are going to have, that we have a member of council and a member of the Little Miami Fire Board attending those meetings.
All right, I misunderstood. Sorry.
Because again, Tim, I'm just trying to say, let's just do this transparently and let's move forward. Let's try to figure out what our options are. It's what I've said for 6 months now. And I'm more than willing to listen to ideas. And I'm more than willing to, you know, go to bat for Mariemont to provide the fire out of our building. But I can't do that with just saying, yeah, we can do it, but I don't know what do we need to do to add on to the building, because, you know, we shouldn't have firemen sleeping in the basement, which we've talked numerous times. We probably need to add on, you know, in the back for the equipment. And we probably have to look at a full-time model versus a part-time model. Tim, you've said yourself that the part-time model in Mariemont is probably not sustainable.
Correct. And I don't have a time frame on that. That's county-wide in Hamilton County in general.
And I can understand that, because it sounds like a lot of people have gone to a part-time model for the fire department, and it's hard to get people to, you know, to hire part-timers at this point, because there's a demand for those part-time firefighters everywhere.
Tim, do you feel that the majority, I mean, what do you think as far as fire departments doing part-time versus full-time? Is the majority doing the part-time?
If you look at Hamilton County in general, there's still a great number that utilize part-time personnel, but it's not the available pool that it used to be.
Okay.
For instance, I'll use Sycamore as an example. Probably 5 years ago, we had over 100 part-timers. We're down to 4 right now. Sycamore is working towards a full-time model, but that's not a fair comparison from here to Mariemont in general. So, you know, you got to look at what works. And I know it's way too costly to have an entire full-time department. That'll ensure you cover it's 24/7, 365, but some introduction or intermingling between full-time and part-time could probably sustain the part-time system a little bit longer. But there's a lot of complications that I explained to Rob with the part-time system in that meeting too, with call-offs, but we can have further discussions. I don't want to keep your time, but
okay.
There's
I think Tim, I think we're getting too deep in the weeds, but I think we agree right now. We're not going to move on hiring Kramer, and we're going to have the two representatives join you in this meeting as you do. In essence, what it sounds like, it's going to be a brainstorming exercise to try to figure out what you need to do. But I think I would feel more comfortable if we have, you know, the representative from both of the legislative or the voting bodies to be at that meeting to help understand what's being discussed.
Sure.
But, and again, my only goal here is to say, wait a minute, I just think we've got too much coverage with these two fire departments a mile away from each other. And I know over the last 30 years, this has been a problem about trying to figure out how to get the communities to work together.
If you look at the two fire stations, the coverage of that, yes. Personnel wise, no.
Okay.
But that was the point of this meeting upcoming, is to discuss potential ways to try to bring this together and save money for both communities.
Right.
And
also look to the potential problems of reducing personnel that could cause what it could cause.
And Tim, you do believe you and Terry can have that together by the next meeting, the next council meeting, April 12th, right?
You said the 12th, correct?
Okay.
Right.
Yes.
Okay.
Okay. So we have a path forward now. We have a path forward now.
I think we're all on the same page.
Yeah. Great. Cool. Good. Thank you.
All right. All good. All good. Thanks, Tim, for joining in.
Thank you, Tim.
Let me just quickly, before Joe, we get on to the Mills fence business, let me just quickly mention Chief Hines's monthly report. Do we have any questions regarding that? Any comments?
I had a couple questions for him, but I'll follow up with him.
You can call the chief.
Yep.
All right, Joe.
Okay, we're not doing the Mills fence thing tonight because we're still figuring out a couple of details on that. I thought we were going to talk about the roof options, roof estimates. I think that the agenda changed.
Yeah, well, let me just mention, I did talk with the insurance adjuster today, and I've got an appointment set up with him for 11 o'clock in the morning. So Sherp and I will be down at the pool, hear what he has to say, and also we're going to do the batting cage.
Okay. So do you want to talk about the fence, or I'm sorry, the pool roof project at this point?
Well, I mean, it might be better to sort of wait for the adjuster, I would think, but.
Well, was it on the agenda?
I thought it was added to the agenda, on the revised agenda.
It is.
Okay.
Okay, so the problem we got, Bill, is if we wait too long, it's going to be hard to get an approval and get the roof on before the pool opens. Right. That was the reason why we wanted to put it on tonight. Yeah, and talk through the concepts what we have here. So,
it doesn't matter in terms of who we use to do the work. It just matters what the net cost is. So.
Right. So a couple of things real fast. We had two companies come down and give us an estimate about what it would cost to replace the roofs. And what we're dealing with is a couple of issues. We've got some wind damage on the main pool house, and we had a tree fall on the gazebo last year that caused some damage. And those two items that we looked at by the insurance adjuster to determine if they're going to make a contribution in excess or deductible towards these, what I'm calling the gross costs to actually do the work. The roofs are fairly old. From what we can tell, they're probably 20 to 25 years old, and are in need of replacement. The estimates include bringing the roofs up to code, putting down ice shields, and drip edges, the stuff that's required by code now. And the one piece that was not in the Advantage Roofing bid to start with, the bid of $19,170, is they didn't realize that there was decking work that was necessary on the gazebo, that the tree had actually punctured through the
shingles and punctured through the decking. So their estimate's probably going to go up, probably very similar to Deer Park Roofing's estimate. I sent an email around last night that talked about gutters and downspouts, which also are in need of repair. They are the old nail and ferrule style, and they are separating from the building in numerous places. They would be replaced with gutters that have hooks that attach flush with the roof, and probably necessary to do. So again, if you take the Deer Park Roofing bid and you take the estimate for gutters and downspouts for both the main pool house and the snack shack, that comes up to about $22,400. There is also these gutter guards, which would be $1,100 more. And what I don't know, I'll just pose the first question to all of council: do we want to put the gutter guards on or not? Which the gutter guards just put the shields over to keep the leaves out of the gutters and keep them from clogging. Now, is that something we can do manually, or do we want to put them on?
Well, it's not like the gutters on a second-story house. However, from speaking from somebody who just cleaned his gutter over the weekend, it is a bit of a pain in the you-know-what to get up there and do that job. So from a time deal for John and having somebody go down there and do it, what'd you say the quote was, Joe? $1,100?
$1,100.
Yeah. And that's
we just took all of our gutter guards off because we were up there multiple times a year unclogging the gutter guards so that the gutters could then collect the water. So it was rotting our eaves.
There's gutter guards, then there's gutter guards. I mean, there's good ones and bad ones. So personally, I say put them on.
John, what do you think?
Yeah, I think you should. We get a lot of leaves stuck up in there.
Okay.
On both sides.
The only reason I asked that question is if you take the Deer Park bid plus the gutters plus the downspouts plus the gutter guards, it comes up to $23,500. And what I would ask for tonight is a approval of the roof work not to exceed $23,500. And I do know of 2 other contractors I can probably call to see if we can get a better price than $23,500 for roofs, gutters, downspouts, and gutter guards. And we can do that over the next week or 2 as we're figuring out the insurance claim. But tonight's approval would just be for not to exceed $23,500 on a gross matter for the roofing, gutter, and downspout work at the pool.
Okay.
And don't forget, we are going to need a permit for all of that.
I was going to ask you tonight, Eileen, I'm glad you're on. We need a permit for the pole move on the Murray Path project for Duke. So, you know, maybe we can do all this all at once. So we got a lot of stuff cooking here. So that's good news.
We do indeed. It is the season, which is good. And I believe most of those, all but one of those pole moves are already complete. Permits are done. And I've even called them to let them know they're good to go.
Okay. So for permits, do we have to pay for permits in the village, or is that a freebie? Do I have to put that in the estimate?
No, it's not a freebie, but the money does go back to the village.
So how much do I need to put in the $23,500 number for permits?
It's not $23,500. No.
Okay. Well, let's just do it this way.
No,
the approval for not to exceed $23,500 plus the permit cost, because that just comes right back into us anyway. So.
Correct.
Okay. And Ed, do we need to do a resolution on this or just a simple vote?
You're muted, Ed.
Ed, you're muted.
You're on mute.
Unmute thyself.
All right, got it. Sorry about that. No, Joe, I think you just do the simple vote tonight about that. It's somewhat of an emergency because of the insurance coverage. So I think you guys can just do a vote tonight. If you agree, that's great. I don't think we have to take the time to prepare a resolution.
Okay.
Okay.
Okay. So the vote is to approve the repairs to the pool roofs, an amount not to exceed $23,500 plus permit costs.
Right.
And that's what the vote will be about. So.
Okay.
I tell you what, Joe, couch it as a motion and then have somebody second it, okay?
Okay. I'd like to make a motion for what I just said. So.
Right. There you go.
And let's have a second.
Second.
Maggie had it. Yep. All right, Mr. Bartlett.
Aye.
Dr. Lewis.
Aye.
Ms. Palazzolo.
Aye.
Mrs. Rankin.
Aye.
Mr. Stelzer.
Aye.
All right. Not to exceed 23.5 plus the permit. All right. All right. Last thing under communications, we have John Scherpenberg's service report. John, you have anything to add about that? You're on mute.
Not at this time.
Not at that time. All right.
No.
Okay. All right. I think that covers communications. Did I leave anything else? I don't think so. All right. Did I leave anything out?
Mulch.
Yeah, the mulch. Yeah, okay, the mulch.
That's John's letter.
That's John's letter. Yeah, we're referring that to your committee. All right, Tony, anybody permission to address council? Anybody in the room?
There's no attendees tonight, Mayor.
No attendees tonight. All right.
Unbelievable.
All right. Well, I wish we had some attendees. All right, motion to pay the bills. Any question regarding the bills?
Oh, I had a quick question regarding it, and if it's already been answered, my apologies. Regarding the window for the K9 Cruiser needing to be replaced, is that covered by our insurance? And why did that dog break it?
Well, he's an eager boy and he wanted to get out.
Well, if I got trapped in a hot car, I'd want to get out too.
I would assume that part of it is probably covered by insurance. I don't know what the deductible would be on that kind of a thing. I'll check with the chief tomorrow to see if you're that interested.
I can follow up with him, Bill.
Okay. All right. Any other questions regarding the bills? No? All right, I need a motion and a second to pay the bills.
So moved.
Second.
Rob had the second. Mr. Bartlett. Dr. Lewis.
Aye.
Ms. Palazzolo.
Aye.
Mrs. Rankin.
Aye.
Mr. Stelzer.
Aye.
All right, pay the bills. All right, Tony, it looks like we've got the one committee report, rules and law, recodification.
Yes, first report is from Rules and Law regarding Mariemont Code of Ordinance recodification. The Rules and Law Committee met on March 17th, 2021 at 2:00 p.m. Attendees included Mayor Bill Brown, Administrative Assistant Joni Van Pelt, committee members Maggie Palazzolo, Marcia Lewis, and Rob Bartlett. The committee discussed recodifying the Mariemont Code of Ordinances. It was agreed to proceed and funds have been allocated. Council planned to do this in 2020, but postponed due to financial uncertainty brought on by COVID-19. The cost will not exceed $11,000 plus shipping. It will include an online version of the code, which we currently have. Additionally, to reduce costs, the committee recommends doing this on a more frequent basis going forward. The committee recommends that the solicitor prepare the necessary legislation for the next council meeting. The committee also discussed implementing a social media policy. More research is being done on various policies other organizations use, so there is no action at this time. Respectively submitted and signed by Maggie Palazzolo, Chairman, Marcy Lewis, and Rob Bartlett.
All right, you've heard the report. I need a motion and a second to accept the report.
Can I ask a question?
Well, let's have the motion in a second, then we'll get to the discussion.
Right. So moved.
Second. Second, Rob. All right, now, any discussion?
Sorry, I'm getting ahead of myself.
It's all right.
So when it says plus shipping, are we getting new code books? What are we actually getting out of this?
Certain people want it, like mainly office people, like Joni wants one, Bill wants one, Chief gets one, the building department gets one. There's, I think, 5 or 7 of them. So they ship that. They also ship these like little pamphlets with the zoning code in them that we can hand out to contractors. We charge for them. So eventually, like, you know, any money we pay to have them printed is reimbursed. But so yeah, they are shipping us a box of stuff.
Okay, thanks, Maggie.
Yeah, apparently, Joni just reminded me, it's on the big code book, it's just the inserts that we get. You know, we don't get the actual, we don't get new binders, apparently.
Okay.
Okay, for whatever that's worth. Any other discussion?
So,
Rob?
yeah, just a quick question. So, because it's going to come up for mine, the next report too. So, do we need resolutions for these things? Ed, this is where.
Yeah, I know, Rob. There's a question. Yes, I'm going to, contrary to the roof repair we just talked about, I'm going to prepare a quick resolution just authorizing us to spend this money. I know we anticipated spending it, but I think in an abundance of transparency, we'll just have a vote next week to go ahead and do that. And same thing for this other report that you've got. If it's approved, we'll do the same thing. Okay.
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 All right. Okay. On roll call, Mr. Bartlett.
Aye.
Dr. Lewis.
Aye.
Ms. Palazzolo.
Aye.
Mrs. Rankin.
Aye.
Sir?
Aye.
All right. We'll pass that report. All right, Tony, Finance.
Yes, from the Finance Committee regarding software purchases for Mayor's Court. The Finance Committee met on Wednesday, March 17th, 2021 at 5:00 p.m. via video to discuss the purchase of new software for Mayor's Court. Present at the meeting were Finance Committee Chair Rob Bartlett, Finance Committee members Kelly Rankin and Joe Stelzer, Mayor Bill Brown, Police Chief Rick Hines, Clerk of Courts Vicki Hill, and Robin Kemp, who was Clerk of Courts for Amberley Village. The Finance Committee reviewed the purchase request submitted by the Police Department for new Mayor's Court software. The current software, ICRC, is only being used by 3 municipalities and is being sunsetted by the developer. The majority of municipal mayor's courts, including Amberley Village, are using software developed by the Baldwin Group, Inc., BGI. The quote we have received from BGI is for $15,082 and is good until June 10th, 2021. This will cover full licensing costs as well as support and maintenance for the remainder of 2021 and all of 2022. We have the option to pay this over 18 months with no finance charge, with $8,361 occurring in 2021 and $6,721 in 2022. This was not included in the budget as the situation was only discovered with the turnover in the clerk of court role. There could be an opportunity to offset this cost, though, as it appears that Mariemont is not charging the full amount that it could for tickets it issues. For now, we could recommend charging this software to the police budget. However, if we are successful in increasing some of the fines associated with the issued tickets, this charge would then be moved to the Mayor's Court Computer Fund. The Finance Committee recommends that Council approve the spending of $15,082 for this new Mayor's Court software, with $8,361 occurring in 2021 and $6,721 in 2022, and for now being charged to the police budget. The Finance Committee also recommends putting into the committee an investigation of if we are charging the full amount that we can for tickets issued by police. Respectively submitted and signed by Rob Bartlett, Chairman, Kelly Rankin, and Joe Stelzer.
All right, you've heard the report. Do I have a motion and a second to accept the report, please?
So moved.
Okay, Mags, get it. I'll second.
Okay. Any discussion? Let me just say something here at two things at first. I know we were caught a little, off guard by this because, we've had the turnover in the clerk, the new girl, and we weren't aware that we're going to, this old software was basically going to be sunsetted. It was going to be out. So in that regard, that's unfortunate. I'd also like to publicly thank, though, this Robin Kemp, who is the clerk of courts for Amberley Village. This gal has been extremely valuable to us and basically walking Vicki through what we need and sort of getting her acclimated, into the position down there. And I'd just like to say thank you. Any other comments?
Yeah, Bill, the only comment I have about it, what the report says, I think if the committee is going to investigate if we're charging as much money as we should, you've got to be very careful about that. Number one, if somebody comes to court, it's one thing if they pay whatever the schedule of fines is. It's another thing if somebody comes to court and the magistrate may choose to issue a fine that's a little bit less than what otherwise would be imposed by a ticket. That's at the magistrate's discretion. And I think council's got to be careful in recommending that the magistrate charge more money, because most people view mayor's courts somewhat poorly because they think they're big revenue generators for these various municipalities. I don't look at it that way myself, but all I'm saying is just be careful about it. You can't go to the magistrate and say, hey man, start maxing these people instead of cutting one or another.
Ed, I think there's a slight misunderstanding there. In terms of the fines are one thing. I think what Rob is talking about here, and he can explain it better than I can, we're talking about an actual court cost.
Yeah,
that's assessed on the ticket.
So this is per ORC, Ed. You're allowed to charge up to, for computerization of the mayor's court and computerization of the clerk of courts. So it's not maybe the wrong word is fine, maybe the right word is fee.
Oh, this court costs is what you're talking about.
Yeah, so this is for computerization of both those two elements, the mayor's court and the clerk of courts. So Bill is the one who gave me some legislation that showed with ORC how that's all laid out and what you can do for that. And this is part of our computerization of our court system. So,
all right, if I misunderstood, I apologize. But I thought, didn't we just look at the increase of court costs just not 6 months ago, didn't we? Somebody looked at it and recommended an increase.
That was Maggie's Rules and Law Committee, and that's so there are like Chief shared with me. There's like 5 or 6 different court fees, associated fees for different things that you can have.
Right.
And so this is a separate one because the money that comes out of this has to go to a mayor's court computer fund.
Right.
So it is specifically for those kind of costs.
Okay.
And it's a fee, not a fine. I may have used the wrong terminology here for that. So
yeah, I got no problem if you want to put the fine or put the fees in accord with most of the other municipalities. That's no big deal.
Yeah, that's what this is. Again, we use the word fee, but that's the clarity is it's a fee, not a fine.
Okay, that's fine.
Any other comments? No?
And again, the Finance Committee will go through and assess all that and come back with the recommendations separately about this Mayor's Court Computer Fund type thing, the fee. So we're just asking to put that in the committee. This mayor's software is a separate thing. That's really primarily what the purpose of this stuff.
All right. Okay.
All right, a roll call. Mr. Bartlett.
Aye.
Dr. Lewis.
Aye.
Ms. Palazzolo.
Aye.
Mrs. Rankin.
Aye.
Dr. Stelzer, wake up.
Oh, gosh, no.
Aye.
Aye. All right. All right, we'll pass that report. That was good to get this underway because apparently this is something we really have to address.
Mm-hmm.
So Ed, you'll work on the resolution for that as well then?
Yes, I believe he said so.
Yep.
Yeah.
Perfect.
Yeah. All right, under miscellaneous, village offices will be closed in observation of Good Friday, April the 2nd. Again, reminding residents the upcoming council seat that if anybody should be interested in running, we're going to have more information about that coming, I think, in the town crier, I believe.
Yeah, April town crier.
April town crier's issue.
We should put it in May as well.
And probably in May as well. And if anyone's out there listening, you know, my phone is always available. I mean, I will try to answer any and all questions regarding this. I'm sure any council person would do the same. Mm-hmm. So please, you know, feel free to use the resources.
Don't.
All right. Okay. I don't know what that was.
We also put it out on Nextdoor Mariemont under our Mariemont account.
Well, or on the website too. Can we put it on the website? Or?
We'll put it on the website. Yeah, for sure. Yeah. All right, we'll be getting that out there. All right, the resolutions, Tony, Alicia Klein.
All right, first one to appoint Alicia Klein as a member of the Pool Commission to fill the unexpired term of Lisa Blanding for calendar years 2021 and 2022.
All right, we've had the first reading. May we have the second reading? Oh, that was the second reading?
It was the second.
I'm sorry. Yeah, I'm sorry. I'm looking down. That was the second. Okay, any discussions? That's a discussion. No discussions?
Oh.
All right. Okay, Tony, resolution declaring necessity for levying the tax.
Okay, next one, resolution declaring the necessity of levying a tax in excess of the 10 mil limitation for permanent improvements and requesting the county auditors to certify matters in connection therewith.
All right, that's the first reading. No, you want to explain that just a teeny bit, Tony?
Yeah, so these levies they renew every 5 years. So we have to go to the county and have them certify the amount of the levy. And then once they get back to us, then we put another resolution on the agenda for passing that levy, and then to put it on the ballot for November.
Okay.
So this is for there's 2 permanent improvement levies. One's for like 100,000, one's for 300. This is for the smaller one for 105 that was first passed in 1981.
But it's a renewal, correct?
The renewal, yes.
Yeah. Okay.
And this is the paperwork required to get it on the ballot then?
Correct.
Yeah.
First certify, then we put it on the ballot.
All right, that was the first reading. We'll have the second reading next time. Moving down to ordinances.
All right, to amend section 51.17 of the Mariemont Code of Ordinances, fees for garbage and refuse pickup.
All right, that was the third reading. Let's see, I need a motion and a second to adopt.
So moved.
Moved. Got a second?
Maggie had the second.
Maggie had the second. All right, on roll call, Mr. Bartlett.
Aye.
Dr. Lewis.
Aye.
Ms. Palazzolo.
Aye.
Mrs. Rankin.
Aye.
Mr. Stelzer.
Aye.
All right, we'll pass that.
So with the passage of that, can we update the website will need to be updated for that as well, because it still talks about buying a sticker and doing all that stuff. So, and I guess also we have that document that we give to new residents, and I think there's a section in there too that explains how the recycling and refuse.
Yeah, we just had a bunch of those printed.
Oh, that's good.
So just, yeah, getting those updated would be great to reflect this new change.
All right, we'll do that. All right, the next one is we're redoing this for a little clarification.
Yeah, so I guess we originally passed this on February 8th, but we were missing some language in there for voting and non-voting. So we're going to do it again. So ordinance to amend O-9-21, establishing a tree advisory board in the village of Mariemont and creating new section 37.06 of the Mariemont Code of Ordinances and to declare emergency.
Okay, you've had the first reading. I need a motion and a second to suspend the rules to allow for the second and the third reading.
So moved.
Rob's got the second. Mr. Bartlett, Dr. Lewis.
Aye.
Ms. Palazzolo.
Aye.
Mrs. Rankin.
Aye.
Mr. Stelzer.
Aye.
Okay, may we have the second reading?
Ordinance to amend O-9-21, establishing a tree advisory board in the village of Mariemont and creating new section 37.06 of the Mariemont Code of Ordinances and to declare emergency.
Okay, I think we all understand this. We don't need any more discussion. May we have the third reading?
Yes, ordinance to amend O-9-21, establishing a tree advisory board in the village of Mariemont and creating new section 37.06 of the Mariemont Code of Ordinances and to declare emergency.
All right, I need a motion and a second to adopt.
So moved.
Marcy had the move. We got a second out there somewhere?
Second.
Second, Kelly. All right, on roll call, Mr. Bartlett.
Aye.
Dr. Lewis.
Aye.
Ms. Palazzolo.
Aye.
Mrs. Rankin.
Aye.
Mr. Stelzer.
Aye.
All right, I need a motion and a second to evoke the emergency clause.
So moved.
Second.
Rob had the second. Mr. Bartlett.
Aye.
Dr. Lewis.
Aye.
Ms. Palazzolo.
Aye.
Mrs. Rankin.
Aye.
Mr. Stelzer.
Aye.
All right, that resolution will be adopted.
Well, before you adjourn, one additional item.
Sure.
I think most of you already heard, we did get the bids back on the Murray Path project.
Mm-hmm.
We received 6 bids. 4 of them were underneath the original estimate, so we're ready to proceed. We have raised over $175,000 privately, so we are good on the money. We're good on the bids now. It's just a matter of moving forward. Chris, we got these last Wednesday. Chris Ertl has been evaluating the 6 contractors to see which one he would recommend and is going through that detail. Probably will have that information available by either tomorrow or Wednesday. So I would like to propose that we have a committee of the whole meeting Thursday or Friday to
seek council approval to move forward on the Murray Path project. And the reason why I want to do this in a hurry is because we can probably get this project started either mid to late April. So we need council approval to kind of move forward. So if it works on everybody's schedule, would a committee, council of the whole, committee of the whole, whatever you want to call it,
I think it would be a special meeting of council. I think it's what it would be.
Yeah,
that's fine. Whatever you want to call it. But is everyone available either Thursday or Friday?
It
shouldn't take long. But
are you talking about? Or is there an evening, Joe? Are you thinking about or?
Well, probably don't want to do Friday evening, but we could either do Thursday evening or Friday afternoon.
Friday
just trying to.
Good with me.
I can do either as long as Thursday evening is after 7:30.
Okay, so I'll send an email after the meeting with some times. Please respond. And the second item that we will probably add to that agenda would be the pool fence project. We should have some of the final questions answered to be able to bring everybody up to date about what the current thinking is on the full pool fence project.
Hey Joe, on those Murray bids, did one or two of those contractors like literally have an April start date?
Chris has spoken with them. I don't think the bids mentioned a start date, but he has spoken with them that they could probably start as soon as the third week of April.
Wow.
Okay, so that's exciting. And we're still running through the numbers a little bit. We have to figure out what items from the contractor bid are actually covered by the 75% grant that we got from the state of Ohio. But we think we'll probably have anywhere between $80,000 to $85,000 remaining for landscaping after putting the path in. And the other part of that is that Martin Kepke is updating the landscaping plan based upon the final alignment that we came up with for the path. And we're going to try to get that out to the public for their comment, but we don't need to have that approved to, actually put the path in. So, so the process this week is going to be reviewing and potentially approving the contractor to actually put the path in.
So we'll get the bids, what's the process with us getting the bids to discuss?
We've got a spreadsheet right now, but Chris is going through that spreadsheet and trying to figure out which items in that bid are covered by the grant, the 75% match from the grant. So he's working on that right now, but I could probably send that tonight if you just want to see the detail. But there's all 6 bids are side by side on one Excel spreadsheet.
I don't think tonight's necessary, but maybe tomorrow.
Right, but there's, again, Chris needed some time to get through the evaluation to check on the credibility and or the reputation of the contractors, try to determine, when they might be able to start on it, all those types of things. And he's going through that process right now and getting some clarifications on a couple of because it was interesting looking at the bids. There were some line items that there was great variances between the 6 contractors.
Huh.
But and so that's what he's trying to reconcile out. How are you this different than another contractor for the same item? Just to make sure there's clarity there about what they're actually signing on for.
Okay.
But the good news is we got 4 of the contractors are well below the estimated cost. So yeah. I think we're ready to move at this point.
That's excellent.
Yeah.
All right, Mr. Bartlett has 2 things.
So I just one thing.
No way.
One thing is to put into the finance committee. We're getting close to that healthcare update. Remember, Kelly and Joe, when we have to. So I reached out to them and they said they should have some of that benchmarking data available ideally by the end of this week. So I just want to put into the committee, do the whole healthcare for this year. And then I think also for the next council meeting, we've already voted and passed the legislation about modifying the audit committee. And we do have an audit that's coming up this year. So what I think would be helpful would be if everyone sort of thinks about somebody who might be good. It's 3 people on the audit committee, but at the next council meeting, let's start talking about, because first we're gonna have to figure out who we'd like to ask, and then they may not want to agree to do it. So it may take us a little while to form that committee. And again, the audit's coming up, right? What is it? It's April or May? Tony, is that?
Yeah, late April, early May is what we're pushing for, yeah.
So again, I think it'll be good for us to get the people identified and put on the audit committee so that they're ready once the audit's done, type of thing.
Okay.
So that's just for next meeting. Just be thinking about who you would want me to recommend for that, and we can talk at next meeting.
And there's 3.
Okay.
I have 2 things. I have my update on my committee. So since we
no, stop it. She already asked.
I already asked. Since we got the recodification underway at this point, the second item in my committee is just this general placeholder that I had for reviewing code as quickly as we possibly could. We will continue to review code, but we don't need that item. We can put the individual items on there. And then I think we also had, Bill, did you want to put fences and fences? We had 2 fence items.
Right.
So I don't want to put them, I know they're fences and fences, but they're 2 separate, very separate fence related items. So I'm going to let you word that, but we're going to do fences related to corner properties and fences related to chain link fence.
Exactly.
Okay.
Right. Yeah. Okay. So take one item off the agenda and add 2 more on, huh?
I know, right?
Yeah.
Why do I do updates?
I think you did that backwards, Maggie.
I did.
Maggie, are you finished?
Yeah, go ahead.
I have a quick question, just if you could update us where we are on the whole DORA process.
So we're waiting on the state to write us back and say, go. So like when we voted as a municipality, it began to exist, right? But we can't, we haven't gotten the state to okay the legal language, letting people out of getting like a open container violation until they bless it. So it's the liquor licensing side of the state has to say, okay. So it is with them. I think I'm going to call up there. It's been a while. But we have, like, Bill and I are working on signs, where to put them, which we pretty much decided already. But like, if we can mount them on a pole that's already present, we'd prefer to do that. Everything's going. Chief's ordering cups. I'm reviewing them tonight one last time to make sure they have the right information and spelling. And so all we need is the state to say, okay.
It's getting to be that time of year.
I know, right now.
Good work, Maggie. Thank you.
Yeah. All right. Anything else?
No.
No? All right. For the second time, we're adjourned.
All right.
And this time for real.